From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, 24 hours after the exit of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, President Bola Tinubu swears in Kudirat Kekereekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, becoming the second female to occupy the position after Justice Aloma Mukhtar. It's the end of legal fireworks over governorship contest in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. The Supreme Court affirmed all three of them as validly elected governors of their states. And PDP Governors Forum meets in Taraba. Chairman of the group and Governor of Borja State, Bala Mohammed, says the party has what it takes to take Nigeria out of the current economic hardship.
On business news tonight, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission allays fears of job losses following divestment of international oil companies from the country.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria Women Football League champions Edo Queens win the Wafu B Club qualifiers in Bouaké, Côte d'Ivoire, and will represent West Africa at the 2024 CAF Women's Champions League.
And from the nation's capital, Vice President Kashim Shettima tasks the Nigerian Armed Forces to remain vigilant and proactive in addressing regional security threats.
And in international news from London, divers have located the sixth body in the wreckage of a luxury yacht which sank off Sicily, believed to be that of 18-year-old Hannah Lynch.
President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Justice Kudirat Kekereekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, pending approval by the Senate. During the short ceremony in the State House, the president described the acting Chief Justice as a trailblazer and encouraged her to build on the independence of the judiciary to promote the cause of justice. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
The State House Council Chamber is the venue of the swearing-in ceremony of the new Chief Justice of Nigeria. In attendance are the President of the Senate, some ministers, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, the immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, and heads of judicial bodies in the country. President Bola Tinubu presides over the ceremony as Justice Kudirat Kekereekun takes the oath of office as the second female Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Kekereekun, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful, that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so help me God. Thank you.
Some pictures are taken to mark the historic moment. She's invited to formally take her seat in the chamber. In his comments, President Bola Tinubu commended Justice Kekereekun's meritorious service through the years.
Meritorious rise from magistrate to justice of the Supreme Court is a testament to her exceptional talent, hard work, unblemished record, strong work ethics, and dedication to her calling as a priest in the temple of justice.
He also had a clear charge for her.
Idea for all your lordship to be faithful and loyal to the Constitution when discharging your duty as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. I also encourage you to defend the judiciary's independence always promote the cause of justice, strengthen mechanism for integrity, discipline, and transparency in the judicial sector.
Speaking afterwards, Justice Kekere-Ekun spoke on her vision for the judiciary.
We'll make sure that people have more confidence in the judiciary. And I believe that it's not a one-man job. We all have to be on board. And because we all see where the areas are that need improvement, I believe that there will be cooperation because we all want to see a better judiciary. A better judiciary is for the benefit of the entire nation.
The governor of Lagos State believes her appointment is another example of the nation's growing democracy.
For us, it's the beauty of what our democracy is. And to all Nigerians, I think it's another moment for us to be thankful. She will be, the second female Chief Justice of the Federation. And what a time, and we're indeed excited. We're excited not just because she's a Lagosian, I am, but because of who she is. She's been an outstanding jurist.
Justice Kekere-Ekun will assume office as the 23rd Chief Justice of Nigeria in acting capacity, pending her confirmation by the Senate. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The Director General of the National Center for Disease Control, Dr. Jide Idris, has announced that Nigeria is not a high-risk country following the outbreak of the Mpox virus. Dr. Idris stated this after a closed-door meeting with the country representative of the World Health Organization in Nigeria, Dr. Walter Mulumbo. According to the center, Nigeria has recorded 40 confirmed cases of the Mpox with 0 deaths.
Generally, with most of these diseases, some people may not report these cases. Some may not report these cases because of stigma issues, or they may consider it as not this. But again, like we did for cholera, sending people out, some of us RRT teams out to create an active surveillance there. We hope we get more cases from this state. Hope, but the objective is to reduce the number of cases. But we need to intensify those active search so that at least we know that for sure we don't have any of these cases. The last bit is that all the cases we have here are the clade 2B type, the less serious type. It doesn't mean that, but we also have to be on the alert for clade 1B, and that's why we are developing all those labs that have genomic sequencing capabilities. All cases we see, or specimens we see, we subject to genomic sequencing. We'll be able to determine which leads they are.
Well, Dr. Walter Mulumbo announced plans for the production of a vaccine to contain the Mpox virus, which has been declared a public health emergency by the global health body.
Nigeria will be receiving a number of doses of vaccine through donation from the U.S. government. The needs globally are huge. The vaccine is in short supply. The capacity of the current manufacturer cannot meet the global demand unless some kind of intervention is there. So I'm sure the U.S. government will be able to inform on the date of arrival. We've heard from NPSCDA representative the vaccination strategy, which is in line with the recommendation from WHO to target the people at highest risk and those who have the disease and their contact, as well as healthcare workers.
To party politics now, where the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum and Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, says the PDP is one party that has the experience and pedigree to be able to navigate all waters, irrespective of the current economic situation. According to him, it's always a tradition of the PDP to stay together and discuss issues passionately with clear-cut clarity, especially as the country is going through a lot of challenges at the subnational level. While saluting his colleagues and others of other political parties for their courage and good governance at the subnational level, he stressed that as a party, their meeting will center on the state of the nation, state of affairs, and the party, among several other issues. The meeting had the governor of Taraba as host, with that of Adamawa, Bauchi, Delta, Edo, Enugu, Zamfara, Plateau, and Rivers states in attendance. The governors also issued a communique after a closed-door session.
With regard to the forthcoming governorship election in Edo State, we condemn the pronouncement by the President to compromise the election in favor of his party, as well as the systematic intimidation of PDP supporters by the Nigerian police, and call on his Inspector General of Police to call his men to order. The forum notes with concern the refusal of the federal government to distinguish between the federal government revenue and the revenue accruing to the federation, which must be allocated in accordance with the extant laws. We call on the Federal Minister of Finance and the Accountant General of the Federation to be more transparent in obeying the law, particularly Section 1621, 2 and 3. And equally call on the Accountant General of the Federation to stop behaving like the Accountant General of the federal government and to exercise her role in line with the Constitution. Thereafter, we call for the separation of the office of the Accountant General of the Federation and that of the Accountant General of the FGM.
The Edo governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Monday Okwebulo, has vowed to give priority to infrastructure development, including road construction, if elected in the forthcoming Edo governorship election. He made this known while addressing supporters during the ward-to-ward campaign of the party at Ewoimi, Esan Southeast local government area of the state.
The APC governorship election campaign team arrives at Ewoimi in Esan Southeast local government area of Edo State, the hometown of the People's Democratic Party PDP candidate in the September 21st governorship election, Aswe Ighodalo. Party supporters and residents of the area defy the rain to give attention to this visit. The turnout of people in this community excites the campaign team. The APC governorship candidate Monday Okwebulo solicits their support in the Esan language, his mother tongue. Other members of the team, including the former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshomole, and the deputy governorship candidate, Dennis Idahosa, say they are counting on the people's support for victory in next month's election, assuring them of good governance if elected.
Stand by him, stand with him, total loyalty, so that together you can do not only the road dimension, you are going to do many other things, including electricity education. Now, one person from this world, now in they tell Obaseki what they do, whether they call advisor. Waiting una don't get from that government for him. I know you're aware. I see this our road. You see where they enter, but I didn't say they enter for London. Not be so. Who do I call that? Not be coming out of somewhere. Not be you. Not be you. Now he don't bring another person. When go busy, he go do pass on somebody.
The campaign rally in the wards has given the APC the opportunity to share their vision with the people at the grassroots in Esan Southeast, as the party focuses on securing victory at the polls come 21st September.
In part two, after the break, Pengasyn asked regulatory authorities in the oil and gas sector to call to order the international oil companies operating in the country who indiscriminately use expatriate quotas to fill positions where Nigerians have the relevant skills to do such jobs. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. 24 hours after the exit of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, President Bola Tinubu swears in Kudirat Kekereekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, becoming the second female to occupy the position after Justice Aloma Mukhtar. It's the end of legal fireworks over governorship contests in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi, as Supreme Court affirms all three of them as validly elected governors of their states. PDP Governors Forum meets in Taraba. Chairman of the group and Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, says the party has what it takes to take Nigeria out of the current economic hardship. And divers have located the sixth body in the wreckage of a luxury yacht which sank off Sicily, believed to be that of 18-year-old Anna Lynch. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has berated the All Progressives Congress, the APC, over what he described as inciting campaign strategy ahead of the September 21st Edo governorship election. Governor Obaseki, who was speaking at a caucus meeting of the PDP Ward 4 or Edo local government area, maintained that the APC have engaged in a campaign of calumny rather than focusing on their manifestos. He cited as an example the threats of destroying the newly built ShopRite complex, which according to him was made in one of the APC campaign rallies.
This election now between good and evil. When I want bad, so as we did one before, now no excuse. We don't know how many we be for this ward. We almost reached 16,000 when collect PVC for this ward. Now we don't add almost another 1,500 on top. We go door to door, make everybody come out. Because what these people they plan to do for Edo go worse past what they do for Nigeria. For them to come out to the campaign the way when they campaign. Say the ShopRite one will they wait for all these years. Say when they come, they go destroy them. They never enter power. You know that they campaign no good word for their mouth. No progress for their mouth. Abuse, curse, lie. Now we want progress. We won't make the suffer when they suffer, make it end. Now let people when go feel make us progress. Now we want. Person or people when sabi, now we want make them rule us. So
and now to one of our top stories, where the Supreme Court has affirmed the re-election of Doye Diri as the duly elected governor of Bayelsa State after dismissing the appeal filed by Timipre Silva, the candidate of the APC in the November the 11th, 2023 off-cycle election. A five-member panel of the Apex Court, headed by Justice Lawal Garba, affirmed the Court of Appeal's decision of July the 15th. In the same vein, the Supreme Court affirmed the election of Usman Ododo of the All Progressives Congress as the duly elected governor of Kogi State, and Hope Uzodinma, also of the APC, as the duly elected governor of Imo State.
From Bayelsa, Kogi and Imo States, party faithful and their lawyers converged on the Supreme Court to witness the judgment of the Apex Court on their governors. Proceedings begin with the pronouncement on the appeal filed by Mr. Timipre Silva of the All Progressives Congress against the election of Mr. Doye Diri as the re-elected governor of Bayelsa State. Citing relevant sections of the 1999 Constitution, the five-man panel of the Apex Court held that the APC governorship candidate has only one right to appeal the judgment of the tribunal and not multiple appeals. The court therefore faulted him for filing 2 notices of appeal to the appellate court and in a unanimous judgment threw out his appeal for lack of merit. Lawyers to Governor Diri and his deputy applaud the verdict of the Apex Court.
Well, we are very happy that today again, Governor Doye Diri has won. You will recall that this has been a series of victories affirming his victory at the election. At the election tribunal, we won. At the Court of Appeal, we won. And today, too, at the Supreme Court, the final court, the highest court of the land, we have also won, affirming his victory at the polls. The appeal here is also dismissed
just like the Court of Appeal dismissed it because it was an abuse of court process, because the Constitution only entitled you to file one appeal, and so you cannot file two appeals.
The Independent National Electoral Commission had declared that Governor Doye Diri of the PDP garnered a total of 175,196 votes to defeat his closest rival, Timipriye Silva of the APC, who polled 110,108 votes. Flowing from the judgment of the Bayelsa case, the Supreme Court equally affirmed the election of Mr. Usman Ododo of the All Progressives Congress as the winner of the off-cycle election held in Kogi State on November 11, 2023. In a unanimous judgment delivered by Justice Sadiq Abubakar, the Apex Court upheld the decision of the Court of Appeal, which on the 27th of May 2024 affirmed the election of Mr. Ododo. The five-man panel held that the allegation of substantial non-compliance with the Electoral Act was not proven by the SDP governorship candidate. It further adds that allegations of age falsification and certificate forgery are pre-election matters which ought to have been ventilated at the Federal High Court that has jurisdiction to hear such matters.
The court decision was a succinct statement of the correct position of the law regarding how to prove an election petition and how not to appeal against an election petition decision. And the court, in doing that, established that it's only one appeal that an appellant has against the decision of a tribunal.
It was somewhat dramatic as boos could be heard when the SDP governorship candidate for Kogi State was leaving the court. When the panel reconvened, the two appeals filed by Mr. Ethan Achono of the Labour Party and Mr. Samuel Anyonwo of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) challenging the election of Mr. Hope Uzodinma as the duly elected governor of Imo State suffered the same fate as the Apex Court dismissed them for want of merit. In the lead judgment delivered by Justice Mohammed Baba Idris, the LP and PDP governorship candidates were said to have failed to establish allegations of overvoting and other malpractices against the November 11, 2023 poll. In a unanimous decision, the Apex Court upheld the earlier decisions of the Court of Appeal and that of Imo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which sat in Abuja and dismissed the petitions in their separate judgments. The governors of Bayelsa and Kogi State hailed the ruling of the Supreme Court and dedicated their victory to God.
And the tribunal and the appeal courts, we again dedicate this victory to God Almighty, who has made it possible for the people of Bayelsa to grant us this mandate. And thereafter, it is the triumph of the people's mandate. So the Supreme Court has affirmed it, and that is the apex court in Nigeria. So this victory is not for me, it's not for my deputy governor, it is the victory of the people of Bayelsa State.
Okay, so we have always extended the olive branch to them to come and join me to move Kogi State forward. Kogi State remains our state, and we want to come together on round table to discuss the affair of our dear state. You see, it is not a personal war, it is not a personal fight, it is a contestation to hold power on behalf of the people, to serve them, and that is just it.
Let me take it home.
The governor of Imo State reacted via a statement dedicating the victory at the Supreme Court to all citizens of Imo, irrespective of political or religious affiliation. He rededicated himself to the service of the good people of Imo State. The verdict of the Apex Court has finally laid to rest the electoral disputes over the duly elected governors of Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo States.
Meanwhile, Governor of Bayelsa State, Doye Diri, has described the Supreme Court judgment, which affirmed his victory in the November 11, 2023 governorship election, as a triumph of truth over falsehood and evil. Speaking in Abuja after the Apex Court gave its verdict, Governor Diri said the victory was not just for him or his deputy alone, but also for the people of the state whose choice was validated by the courts. The court, or the governor, says his victories at the courts have renewed his hope in the judiciary and in democracy. In a related development, following his victory at the Supreme Court, affirming him as the duly elected governor of Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodimma commended the Supreme Court for upholding the law despite the barrage of blackmail and intimidation. In a statement signed by the governor, he says he dedicates the victory to all people of Imo State, irrespective of political or religious affiliation, and will rededicate himself to the service of the good people of the state. He also extends his hand of fellowship to his opponents who contested with him during the election, asking them to join him in the task of reinventing Imo to become the state of their shared dreams. Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission allays fears of job losses following divestment of international oil companies from the country. That's some business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSN, has called on the regulatory authorities in the oil and gas sector to call to order the international oil companies operating in the country who indiscriminately use expatriate quotas to fill positions where Nigerians have the relevant skills to do such jobs. The national president of PENGASSN, Mr. Festus Osifo, stated this in his opening remarks on the last day of the third edition of the PENGASSN Energy and Labour Summit in Abuja. He lamented the abuse of the expatriate quota despite the local content law in place to strengthen the country's capacity in the sector.
The last day of the PENGASSN Energy and Labour Summit is focusing on the future of work in the oil and gas industry. In his opening address, the national president of PENGASSN, Mr. Festus Osifo, urged industry regulators to protect the Local Content Act.
That issue today is expatriate inflows in some of our companies in Nigeria. And these companies, principally, they are the India companies. Today, we have a company called Sterling. In Sterling today, CHRO, it will amaze you to discover that in Sterling, we have more Indians working in Sterling in Nigeria compared to the number of Nigerians working there. In fact, up to vulcanizers, you have Indians carrying out such low job and functions. All their plant operators, if you go to the IOCs, the entire plant operation, they are manned by Nigerians. But if you go to Sterling Oil today, they are all manned by Indians. We have raised this subject before now with NCDNB, that let us not abuse our expatriate quota.
Other speakers highlight the challenges of the future of work in the oil and gas industry.
The gap between global standards and our current standards must be closed in order to attract, retain, and grow our talent the way our peers do globally. Industry leaders and organizations must collaborate to address the leadership challenges and prioritize people development, foster innovation, and embrace diversity to ensure a successful and sustainable future.
It is estimated that by 2025, that AI would help the industry to save between $100 billion to $1 trillion. That is the kind of numbers that every CEO will see and sit back to listen.
Continuous learning. AI technology is even changing per second, per time. So there is need for continuous learning. I believe learning is part of life. So there is need to actually foster this in the organization.
PENGASSN says it will collate all submissions at this summit and forward the recommendations to the government for further action.
That's what we want in the industry.
Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Terry Kumi is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Terry.
Well, thank you very much, Ayo. Now, President Bola Tinubu has charged the Nigerian armed forces to remain vigilant and proactive in addressing regional security threats. Represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the graduation ceremony of Course 32 of the National Defense College, Abuja, the President emphasizes the importance of strategic leadership in addressing the complex security and development challenges confronting Nigeria. He vows to invoke his constitutional powers to continue to equip, arm, and empower the Nigerian military while assuring that his administration remains determined to make Nigeria safe for investment and economic prosperity. A total of 111 participants, including 19 international participants, graduated from the course, and they are urged to continually uphold the value of patriotism.
Our dear country faces many socio-economic challenges. As a government, we are sensitive to our people's yearnings. We will continue proactively intervening in matters that benefit our citizens. Recently, we have made significant strides in addressing some of these challenges. We have implemented a new national minimum wage, which will benefit not only civilian workers but also personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces and other security agencies. We are also working tirelessly to curb the menace of crude oil theft and pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta. I have also tasked the Defense Headquarters and other security agencies with curbing the menace of crude oil theft as soon as possible. This will no doubt boost oil production and achieve our desired economic stability. We must remain vigilant and proactive in addressing regional and global threats as we progress. We must also continue to promote democratic values and uphold democratic principles in our country and across the continent. As the current chair of ECOWAS, will do all necessary to strengthen ties and resolve present divisions within the community.
The Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, is urging the federal government to put in place the necessary infrastructure to ensure the proper structuring of the Almajiri system of education. He stated this when he received the management of the National Commission for Almajiri and out-of-school children's education in his palace in Sokoto State. The Sultan, who is also the President General, Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, pledged to support the Commission's plan to convene a national dialogue on out-of-school children in Nigeria.
The management of the National Commission for Almajiri Education and Out-of-School Children are in the palace of the Sultan of Sokoto for a courtesy visit as part of the Commission's advocacy to reduce the number of out-of-school children in the country. The Sultan of Sokoto, who is also the President of the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, believes the task of getting the children off the streets can be achieved if the system is properly structured.
We have no choice but to support them. Because our work is their work, and we must all put hands together to make this work succeed. As they have already said, we have all seen the beginning of 1st October protest. Some places it was not a protest, it was rioting. In some places it was pure theft of people's hard-earned properties. So many places, so many things. And we have seen also on television screens and social media, the youth that stormed out. Those who are supposed to be in school, they are the ones on the streets. Why? Because of hunger. And you can't go and feed yourself with a stolen loot, the loot of some other person's sweat.
The Commission wants states to enact laws that will criminalize street begging under the guise of Islamic education.
For you to plan well, you have to have a data that is cogent and verifiable. And to get a data that is cogent and verifiable, as I describe it, you definitely need the assistance of the traditional rulers, who are the custodian of our heritage, the custodian of our values, and who are close to the people on the ground. We are going to take advantage of the passion His Excellency is having and the political will to talk to state assemblies to have on ground legislative exercise that will actually guide the practice of the Karatun Allo as against what is happening now.
The Commission says it is working to compile a reliable data of Almajiri and out-of-school children in the country, as well as convene a national dialogue to address the menace.
A veto from the nation's capital. Business News is next with Joke Rogers.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you so much, Terry. Welcome to Business News. The Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Mr. Gbenga Komolafe, has allayed the fear of job losses among workers of international oil companies leaving Nigeria or divesting from onshore to offshore. Mr. Komolafe made the comments at the 2024 edition of the Pengassan Energy and Labour Summit in Abuja, where he also gave assurances that the Commission will protect jobs and ensure the transfer of skills from the IOCs to the indigenous companies acquiring the assets formerly owned by the foreign investors. He says a comprehensive framework has been implemented to guide asset divestment in the upstream petroleum sector, focusing on technical capacity, financial strength, and legal consideration, among others. Now let's take a look at the domestic stock market, which finally ends the week with moderate gains after recording losses in the last two consecutive sessions. John Mekwa tells us more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, as expected, positive sentiment around O&O made a difference in the market today. So we see after that 100% acquisition of Ajib Nigeria, the counter closed in the positive, gained about 10%, which is the maximum that is allowed in the market. And so the counter is up 3.55% thanks to O&O. It's a red one for consumers, 0.54, and that's because of International Breweries had lost today. And so we see that. And when we look at the banking recovered from yesterday, thankfully, 0.88%. Now, let's look at the Fugas. That will tell us the movers of that counter. Of course, the Fugas, they are the strong ones. FBN Holding up 1.75. UBA also up. GTCO up. Accessco 5% up right there. And some of them are still in the market towards that recapitalization. Zenith remains unmoved at the close of trade. And yes, Friday's trade is different. It's in the green, 0.27%. And we clap our hands because we are back on the 95,000 and almost 96. Let's do that on Monday, I hope. And so we see 55.129 trillion naira is the market cap at the close of the trade. And the weekend will have the bull on the floor of the NGX.
Thank you, Ini, and we bring you the closing figures for global stock market for today. That's Business News tonight. Ayotunde, back to you.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Many thanks, Joke. A descendant of the Kennedy dynasty in the United States, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., says he is suspending his independent run for the U.S. presidency to throw his support behind Donald Trump. He promised to remove his name from 10 states where his presence would be a spoiler to Trump's efforts. Here's Simon Pusey with other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Divers have located a sixth body in the wreckage of a luxury yacht which sank off Sicily, believed to be that of 18-year-old Hannah Lynch. Hannah was the last person unaccounted for after the luxury yacht, the Bayesian, sank during a freak storm off the Italian fishing village of Porticello, east of Palermo. 5 bodies, including that of Hannah's father, tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch, have already been found by divers in the wreck, which is lying on the seabed at a depth of 50 metres. A total of 22 people were on board the yacht at the time of the disaster, including a 1-year-old child and Hannah's mother. Vice President Kamala Harris has pledged a new way forward for all Americans as she formally accepted the Democratic nomination for president, delivering a message of unity and urging voters to reject Donald Trump. November's election is a chance to move past the bitterness, cynicism and divisive battles of the past, she said. She made history as the first Black and Asian American woman to lead a major party's presidential ticket. The 59-year-old officially became the Democratic nominee after a fast-moving few weeks that began with President Joe Biden stepping aside in the White House race.
So let's get out there, let's fight for it, let's get out there, let's vote for it, and together let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you. Of America. Thank you all.
Well, earlier in the evening, gun violence survivors took to the stage, including Gabby Giffords. The retired politician had just begun her 3rd term in January 2011 when she was shot in the head in an assassination attempt and mass shooting just outside Tucson.
Kamala can beat the gun lobby. She can fight gun trafficking.
35 years ago, my friends and I were in prison.
Prior to that, Reverend Al Sharpton joined the so-called Central Park 5 on stage. Back in 1989, all 5 teenagers confessed to involvement in the notorious Central Park jogger rape case. Donald Trump publicly vilified the teenagers and purchased full-page ads in several city newspapers to advocate for the reinstatement of the death penalty. However, they later withdrew their confessions, asserting they had been manipulated into making them by police and were exonerated when the actual perpetrator confessed. Well, polls suggest Kamala Harris is now in a tight race with Trump, who offered criticism of his rival as her speech unfolded. During a visit to the US-Mexico border in Arizona, the Republican presidential nominee and former US president criticized Kamala Harris as the border czar while praising the wall that was built during his administration but was never completely finished.
We had a border czar who was the border czar. She loved the title, but she didn't want to do the work because she's lazy, and probably more importantly than being lazy, she wants to have an open border.
At least 14 people have died after a bus carrying passengers from India fell into a river in Nepal, according to officials. There were around 40 people on the bus, which was travelling to Nepal's capital, Kathmandu, from Pokhara. Rescue operations are underway at the accident site on the bank of the Maziangdi River in Tanahun district. The cause of the accident and the identities of the victims have not yet been confirmed. President Emmanuel Macron has met left-wing leaders on Friday at the start of 2 days of crunch talks aimed at deciding who will form France's next government. Snap elections in early July left French politics in deadlock, with no party able to form a clear majority in the National Assembly. A caretaker government led France during the Paris Olympics, to the anger of a left-wing alliance that topped the poll. Their 4-party New Popular Front wants a little-known senior civil servant called Lucie Castet to be named Prime Minister. However, the 37-year-old economist is unelected and seen as an unlikely presidential pick for Prime Minister. And a volcano in Iceland has erupted for the 6th time in just 8 months. Aerial footage shows red-hot lava spewing into the air in the region of Reykjanes in Iceland. It is the 6th time since December that a volcano has erupted in the area south of the country's capital, Reykjavik. The nearby fishing village of Grindavik has been evacuated. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria Women Football League champions Edo Queens visibly thrashed Benin Republic's female club side Anovis FC 3-0 at the Waffle B Champions League qualifier in Bouaké, Côte d'Ivoire.
The victory means the Edo State-based team will represent West Africa in the 2024 CAF Women's Champions League holding in Morocco later in the year. Goals from Suliat Abidin, Essien, and Elizabeth Ukandu handed the Nigerian girls the win and the sole ticket from West Africa. And more cheering news for Nigerian club side. This time, the Nigeria Premier Football League champions, Rangers International, are through to the next round of the CAF Champions League. The Flying Antelope were this evening held to a 1-1 draw by visiting Silimaju of the Comoros at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium, but the Nigerian club side advanced 2-1 on aggregate. Rangers' Augustine Kenechukwu got the opener on the 79th minute, but the Comoros team responded with an equalizer 6 minutes later. And Manchester United boss Erik ten Hag says his players will have to deal with the disappointment of being left out of matches. England forward Jadon Sancho was not included in the matchday one squad after returning to the club from last season's loan spell with Borussia Dortmund. The 24-year-old held a positive meeting with ten Hag on his return after previously falling out of favor with the Dutchman. And former Swedish tennis player Peter Lundgren, who also coached Roger Federer early in the Swiss player's career, has passed away at the age of 59. Lundgren was part of the wave of Swedish players in the 1980s that followed in the wake of icon Björn Borg, playing alongside the likes of Matt Wilander and Stefan Edberg. He won 3 ATP titles and was ranked 25th in the world at the peak of his career. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Many thanks, Chris. Just before we go, news just in. Security sources say 20 medical students that were kidnapped in Benue State have finally been rescued. The operation was coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, the NSA, security agencies, that's the police, the DSS, and military personnel. And equipment were all involved in the operation with the support of the Benue State government. Well, more details are still expected on this developing story. And the main news again. 24 hours after the exit of former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwola, President Bola Tinubu today swore in Kudirat Kekereekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, becoming the second female to occupy the position after Justice Aloma Mukhtar. We also told you that the Supreme Court has affirmed the Governor of Bayelsa State, Doyediri, Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, as well as Usman Ododo as the validly elected governors of their states. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun from all of us here. Do have a good night and have a great weekend.